Star Wars Galaxy's Edge is probably one of the most anticipated things to come from Disney. With me living only 30 minutes down the road from the biggest park add-on in Disney history, I of course had to go. I went to Galaxy's Edge shortly after Hurricane Dorian hit Florida, which resulted in very low wait times throughout Galaxy's Edge, and really just the rides in Hollywood studios. There was basically no one there, and I had pretty much all of the time in the world to get everything done, and that's pretty much what I did. So in this video, I'm going to be taking an in-depth look at Galaxy's Edge and telling you guys if it's worth the trip or not to go to Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. I was going into the park add-on with low expectations, as what I was mainly seeing in the news is mainly the park being a ghost town and just not really a good reception. However, I was quickly blown away by the just absolute immersiveness and nostalgia of going into this park. It really is just awesome if you're a true fan of Star Wars to see all these iconic ships and kind of some of the scenes and objects that are used in the movies and TV shows that you watch almost every day as a Star Wars fan. When you first walk into Galaxy's Edge, you are pretty much immersed into the Resistance side of the planet Batuu. Now, Batuu is halfway controlled by the Resistance and halfway controlled by the First Order. Now, like I said earlier, the entrance is mainly Resistance, so you'll find an A-Wing, an X-Wing, and then some Resistance turrets and stuff like that. If you keep moving along down, you'll run into a giant marketplace. And now, what's cool about this marketplace is all of the kiosks and stalls, or you can actually go inside of them. There's probably, I'd say about 8 different kiosks that you can go inside of and actually interact with and shop in there. Each shop has their own respective merchandise, so one shop has stuffed animals and representing kind of animals, kind of representing that feel of like, you can adopt an animal or something like that. Then, there's another shop that has clothes, and then of course there's also shops that have souvenirs and stuff like that. So the marketplace is definitely cool if you want to get your shopping on and want to spend your money. If you can continue on down through the market, you will eventually reach a really cool area actually that has, it's kind of like a furnace, and it's pretty much cooking these, these Star Wars animals inside of the furnace. As you can see there, that it is rotating this meat, it's cooking it in the furnace, and you can see the droid that's kind of operating this whole entire contraption. Very cool animatronic there. You can see some of the piping that's going through the building. So it has a lot of character throughout this area. It's a very cool area, and a lot of people kind of go through that piece of park because it's pretty much the center area of Galaxy's Edge. If you continue on, you'll go through this kind of big open area, and across the street there is a pretty massive building actually that is a souvenir shop. It has a bunch of cool items that you can get in the shop, both collectible, and they do sell toys inside of it. But for mostly what I saw, it was mainly like collectible stuff like paintings, helmets, books, you name it. Pretty much they have any collectibles that you may want. However, it is a little bit on the pricey side. It's kind of most stuff at Galaxy's Edge is on the pricey side. But it is definitely cool. There's tons of Easter eggs inside of this building too. You can see that they have the Star Wars animals heads mantled up on the wall. You can find some old and new helmets that are on display there. They got a Wampa up there on top, so that's cool. And then kind of at the end of Galaxy's Edge, this isn't just Galaxy's Edge at the end, but this is kind of like the dead end part of Galaxy's Edge where you can't really go any further, is of course the Millennium Falcon and then the Hangar Bay in the back. And of course you have the Smugglers Run ride. And then right there, what we're looking at now is actually a restaurant. It's in a cargo bay actually, so it's cool. I went in there actually, and it definitely looks like some place that you would eat at a Star Wars planet. You can definitely tell that it's in some sort of cargo bay, so it's just a really cool place to eat at. I didn't eat anything there. I just went inside and stuff like that, but yeah, you could see earlier just now that there was the stormtroopers. They're walking around constantly, and what's fun is you can actually talk to them and have a full-on conversation with them, and there's also scenarios that you'll run into. I'm now in line for the Smugglers Run ride, and I must say this is probably the best and most entertaining line to stand in at entire Disney World. It's just, there's so much stuff to look at, there's so many Easter eggs, and so much just cool areas to walk through. Like, now walking up under the Millennium Falcon. It's just awesome. It's such an awesome line to go through, and it's really entertaining. There are components on the Millennium Falcon that actually work, so the exhaust ports on the bottom actually shoot out mist, and then the thrusters on the back actually not necessarily activate, but they do make a sound as if the Falcon is about to take off, and it sounds like a jet engine powering up, so it's absolutely amazing. This guy here is wearing an Alabama shirt, Roll Tide. You then continue on inside of the hangar, and there is tons of Easter eggs in here, guys. I mean, tons. There's so much stuff to look at. They have this little bin that actually has popcorn inside of it, which is very interesting to see. There's these bins that have Stormtrooper armor. You can even see it or find a table that has Sabacc playing cards. Now, that is obviously a reference to the Solo movie. You can see that's the crate right there with a bunch of popcorn in it. So that is interesting that there's just this random crate in the line that has popcorn in it, but it is Star Wars popcorn from what it looks like. It's different colors and stuff like that, so definitely cool. There's also these scenes in the middle of the line that are pretty fun to watch because they're working on like this ship engine and they're kind of testing it out. So the exhausts are going off and stuff like that. There's sirens going off, and then you also have just people talking over the intercom, and you can kind of listen to what they're saying, and it's just kind of Star Wars reference. Take a listen.
People, this is bad. This is what happens before everything goes through. Well, what happened to the automatic coolant? Well, maybe it wasn't such a good idea to route the new flight crews right past an engine repair site, huh?
I mean, is that not cool or what? Now, what we're looking at here is the ship engine or ship part that they are working on. Now, I'm not sure exactly what they're working on. Now, they do mention that Hondo needs this thing up and running. Here's another scene. Take a listen.
The good news, that's not leakage. The bad news, if there had been any leakage, those sparks would have blown up all over the Pet Transport Solutions.
Now here's one of the coolest parts of the line. You do go up to the second level of the hangar, and of course you can overlook the top part of the Millennium Falcon. So you can see all the cool little details that they added on top. You can also get a better view of the park from up there that you normally wouldn't see on ground level. So that's always cool. This next part is a holding room for people that are about to board the Millennium Falcon, and you do get a briefing from Hondo Ohnaka.
You know that? Ship them. Well, I had a bad feeling about that last group, but this, this is the group I've been waiting for, yes! Come in! I have an opportunity for you all that is very dangerous. I was going to say profitable. You think I'm so heartless I would send my friends to danger? You insult my honor, and believe me, I have very little honor to insult. We'll talk later. I have to do everything around here. Yes. Hello, my friends. I am Hondo Ohnaka, and this is Ohnaka Transport Solutions. Today, I am offering the opportunity of a lifetime. I need flight crews to transport this valuable merchandise across the galaxy. Pilots to navigate, engineers to operate the ship, and gunners to defend the shipments. And that is where you come in. The Millennium Falcon. On loan for some very fast and very profitable expeditions. Chewbacca, my fine furry friend. Yes. As we agreed, you let us use the ship. We'll get you the supplies you need. It's a win-win. You help the resistance, and I get all the profits. Wow, the first order will never know we were there. Okay, time to go, so, bye-bye. We better go before he changes his mind. Move along, my friends. Listen carefully and remember.
So what happens next is when you board the Millennium Falcon, and the Disney cast members hand you these flight credentials. Now, these flight credentials are in different colors, so I believe there's green, orange, purple, and white. Now, what will happen is they'll hold you in this holding room, and then they'll call your group color. So, for example, they'll call for group green, and then you'll go to whoever called that, and then whatever is on your flight credentials, so it may say pilot, it may say gunner, or it may say engineer. Pilot, of course, you're going to be flying the Millennium Falcon. Gunner, you're going to be shooting down, more than likely, TIE fighters. And then engineer, you're going to be basically fixing the pilot's mistakes. Now, engineer is probably the least favorite part of the ride. You're basically not doing anything but just pressing a few buttons, and it's kind of the same for gunner. However, gunner, at least you get to shoot down stuff. And then pilot is, of course, the best part because you actually get to fly the Millennium Falcon. So that's really cool. Now, I did not get any footage of the actual ride because I was, well, riding it and I wanted to enjoy the ride without filming it, so it's pretty straightforward why I did not film the ride. But it was extremely fun, and it's kind of a once-in-a-lifetime thing. If you ever want to ride or fly in the Millennium Falcon, this is your chance.
Now, when you get done with the ride, you just go down a pretty long corridor, back out to the main area where the Millennium Falcon is, as you can see here. Now, I was able to ride Smugglers Run roughly around 3 times because the wait times are only about 30 minutes long a piece, and I think it was because of the hurricane. So even though I haven't gone through the entire park yet in this video, I'm going to continue to kind of show off sites and stuff like that for you guys to see. However, I'm going to be talking about my favorite kind of feature, favorite thing that's at Galaxy's Edge, and then I'm actually going to get onto the pros and cons of the park, and then talk about if it's worth actually making the trip out to Galaxy's Edge. So personally, my favorite feature, my favorite thing that was at Galaxy's Edge was surprisingly not the ride. Yes, it actually wasn't the ride. It was Oguz Cantina. Now, Oguz Cantina is, well, kind of your typical Star Wars cantina. It's what you would kind of see in the movies and the TV shows. It's a cantina that's basically pumping and partying. It's essentially a club. Here's footage of it now so you guys can kind of get the basic gist of what I'm talking about here.
No, this stormtrooper's not coming here. You're gonna be in trouble, man. In trouble.
So now you see why Oguz Cantina was my favorite thing in Star Wars Galaxy's Edge, and I think honestly it's the most immersive part of Galaxy's Edge. You just felt like you were kind of a smuggler or kind of those low-end type people from Star Wars that you would find in a cantina. And what was cool about it is those actually, I wouldn't say activities that you could interact with, but there were, you know, certain things that would happen inside of the cantina. Like, for example, when we were sitting there, the power actually went off. And the bartenders were talking about, oh, you know, you need a clap to get the power back on. So the entire cantina, everybody inside of it started clapping. And then suddenly the music and power just turned back on again, which was a really cool addition to that cantina and kind of immersed you even more into the environment. And it was just such an awesome experience. So if you guys go to Galaxy's Edge, go to Oguz Cantina. That is a must. You have to go there. Now, you do have to make a reservation to be in there, but what's funny is actually I didn't make a reservation for it. I pretty much just somewhat walked into it and they let me in. However, one downfall to it is you can only stay in there for 45 minutes and you have a limit of 2 drinks. Now, they do sell alcoholic beverages and non-alcoholic beverages in there, as well as some food objects. Now, all these items are based off of real items from Star Wars movies and comic books and just regular books and stuff like that. So it is cool to kind of, again, immerse yourself with that. So now I'm going to get on to the pros and cons of Star Wars Galaxy's Edge. First off, we're going to start off with the pros. Now, the pros are the immersiveness. It is absolutely insane. You feel like you're a character yourself in Star Wars. I mean, it's crazy. I mean, it's so hard to describe on how immersive this thing is. I mean, I don't think I've ever experienced anything like this before on
it's just immersiveness, how you can just interact with characters, and there's scenes that happen within people in the crowd. I mean, there's Star Wars characters that are walking with the crowd of people. And like I said, you can carry on like full conversations with these people. It's crazy. And another thing that adds to the immersiveness is the fact that once you walk into Galaxy's Edge, I've noticed that there's not a single part where you stand in Galaxy's Edge that you can see the outside of it. The only part that you can see the outside of it is when you're actually leaving and entering. Of course, when you're entering, you just look behind you. You can see the outside of Galaxy's Edge, and it's the same thing for exiting. It's just in front of you, but there's no part that you can see the outside of it. And there's sometimes where you forget that you're even at Disney World. You actually think that you're on a Star Wars planet, and you're just immersed into this world. And I have to say, Disney did a really good job for what it is. The next pro is the entertainment. Now, there are these little scenes that will happen. It's kind of hard to describe on how these scenes happen, but basically, like, for example, there might be like a Resistance soldier that will run past you and hide in a corner, and then they'll tell you, like, oh, don't tell me that, or don't tell the First Order that I'm over here. And then there'll be stormtroopers that will come up, and then you can either tell the stormtroopers that the soldier's there or they're not there, and then it'll cause a chain of events. And so that's really cool in terms of entertainment. Of course, you have the Oguz Cantina. You also have, where you can make your own lightsabers and droids and stuff like that. There's also these Easter egg hunts, and you also can get, I think it's an app, or it may be part of the Disney app, where you can actually use your phone to translate the Arabesh writing. Another pro is Smugglers Run. That's pretty straightforward. I kind of already explained Smugglers Run. It is a awesome ride, extremely fun to ride, and it's just a dream come true for anyone who wants to fly the Millennium Falcon. So that is an obvious pro. Another pro is the exclusivity. Now, when you go to Galaxy's Edge, you will find some items that you can get that you can only get at Galaxy's Edge, and that's obviously exclusive. Now, you could probably find these items on eBay. Somebody's probably selling them, but they're probably selling them for more, so go to Galaxy's Edge if you want to get some of the exclusive stuff, like, for example, the thermal detonator Coke bottles. So now I'm going to get on to the cons. Now, I actually don't have many cons, but there are a few. There are a few. Every little add-on or little park has some issues with it. It doesn't matter if it's Star Wars or not, so I do have some cons with this add-on. So the first con, and it's probably the most major con that I have with the park, is the competitive pricing, and some of it you can't even consider competitive because it's kind of overpriced. Some of the items are very expensive. Very expensive. If you want to build a lightsaber, you're going to have $200 in your pocket to make a lightsaber. If you want to build a droid, you're going to have $100. So it does get on the pricier end. However, like I said earlier, it is exclusive stuff that you can pretty much only get at Galaxy's Edge. So I guess that does make up in the price. But what also is kind of ridiculous about this is Disney has gone up on their admission fees. Also, hotels around the area have kind of jacked up their prices. So if you're visiting in from out of state, plus all these exclusive stuff that, I guess you don't really have to pay for, but if you want to get more immersed, it's going to cost a pretty penny for just this add-on area. Now, this is a big add-on, area to the park, but it isn't its own park. And even, the drinks and beverages are a lot. Like blue milk, that's $7 for blue milk, and then honestly, it's not even that good. The thermal detonator Coke bottles are $6, and you hardly get any Coke out of it. Now, I will say they are pretty cool, and they are, again, exclusive, but the prices are a little bit outrageous, if I had to say. Also, just a fun fact for you guys, the most expensive thing in the park is the First Order Stormtrooper armor, and that's about $6,615. The next con is, well, there's only one ride in Galaxy's Edge. Now, there is going to be a second one, and I think Disney, correct me if I'm wrong, does have plans to make more rides, but right now there's only one ride. So yeah, there's only kind of like one massive thing to do in the kind of add-on area, which I'm going to get on a little bit more about here later if you should come to the park yet or not. Now, the next con is kind of a smaller issue, but it's kind of more of a personal thing that I feel like, and I feel like they should have more stormtroopers. The most I've seen at once is 6 stormtroopers, and I know they've got a lot more stormtroopers than that at Hollywood Studios, and I feel like I should see, you know, about 20 of those guys walking around. I think 6 just doesn't feel right. There should be more. And the last con I have, and this is completely personal, but I don't like the era. I don't like the Resistance First Order era. I'm more of a original trilogy guy, so it's kind of just more of a personal thing for me. I'm not really all into that First Order Resistance type stuff, that new stuff. I like that old stuff, that nostalgic stuff. So yeah, but that's kind of more of a personal thing, not that big of a deal. So now here comes the question that we've all been waiting for. Is it worth to take a trip out to Galaxy's Edge? And what I mean by that is pretty much you make a trip out just to go to Galaxy's Edge and Hollywood Studios for kind of the experience. Now, if you're a Florida resident or you're maybe a state across the way from Florida, maybe Alabama or Georgia, something like that, you're very close, yes, I'd recommend going to Galaxy's Edge 100%. It is awesome. If you love Star Wars, and really, you don't even have to love Star Wars. I mean, this is still an awesome add-on to go to. I would highly recommend it, and I think you guys should definitely check it out. However, if you're really far away from Florida, I don't think it's worth it yet. Honestly, I don't think it's worth to go to Galaxy's Edge just quite yet. I would recommend waiting until the Rise of the Resistance ride comes out. That way you just have more to do and really just make a plan. And also, I would recommend finding a time when there's low wait times, because guys, when it's low wait times and there's no one there, it is absolutely amazing. You can do pretty much anything you want to do without any crowds. I was able to ride Smugglers Run 3 times within about an hour and a half. So when people were actually waiting 300 minutes for Smugglers Run when it first came out. So definitely try to find a good time to go where it would be low wait times for stuff. Not only just rides, but also restaurants and stuff like that. So that's going to conclude this video. I really appreciate you guys watching. If you made it all the way to the end of this part, I love you guys. You guys are awesome for making it to the end of this part and clicking on this video. Anyways, thank you guys so much for watching, and I hope to see you at Galaxy's Edge soon. I'll see you guys in the next video. It's Brick Productions, signing off.